700 year old blah ship discovered by a human mechanic. Its secret could shake the galaxy. Ethan Cross had always loved machines, not the smooth, shiny ones that raced in the spotlight, but the broken, forgotten ones. He knew the language of metal and fire, of circuits and engines, better than he knew any person. While most people in the galaxy avoided old wrecks drifting at the edges of star systems, Ethan felt alive in places like these. The salvage sector on the outer rim of the Andar expanse was a graveyard of ships. Some were war vessels stripped of weapons. Others were cargo freighters turned hollow tombs. The larger guilds ignored these wrecks. Too old, too dangerous, too unpredictable. That suited Ethan just fine. He didn't need a guild. He didn't need permits. He only needed a ship, some tools, and his instincts. The transmission had come through a crackling relay signal, faint and almost buried in static. It wasn't much, just a pulsing frequency with a pattern that seemed deliberate. No official records mentioned it. No one else would care. Ethan adjusted his helmet visor and squinted at the readings. "Well, old girl," he muttered to his ship. "A battered freighter patched together from a dozen different designs. Looks like we got a party invitation." When he reached the coordinates, he found a massive asteroid. Its surface was jagged, pockmarked by eons of meteor strikes. Embedded within the rock, almost invisible, was the hull of a ship unlike anything he had seen. It was enormous, longer than the largest modern cruisers, yet sleek, with curves that looked almost human. Its hull was scratched and corroded, but still intact. "Someone tried to hide you," Ethan whispered. His hands itched for a crowbar. "Well, nobody's hiding you from me." Docking was tricky. The ship was fused with the asteroid, and its outer layers were brittle. Ethan navigated his way carefully, avoiding cracks that could collapse at any moment. When he finally entered the ship, a cold silence greeted him. The air was stale, thick with dust, but there was no smell of decay, almost as if the ship had been waiting. He switched on his helmet light and swept it across the control room. Panels were dark. Consoles were dead. Wires hung loose like vines in an abandoned jungle. But something about the layout felt logical, not alien. Human. Every control seemed designed for hands like his, even after centuries. "This is weird," he muttered. "Way too familiar." Ethan set to work immediately. He loved challenges, and this one promised secrets. Broken panels, fused circuits, and power conduits that seemed frozen in time. But Ethan had patience. He traced wires, rewired circuits, and bypassed security locks using tools most modern engineers wouldn't touch. Hours passed, but progress came. Then, with a faint hum, a console flickered. The air shimmered. Dust danced in the new energy, and then a hologram activated. A faded, wavering projection of a figure. Its face was hidden under a hood, but its voice was calm and clear. "Identity confirmed," it said. "Human detected. Legacy protocol awaiting activation." Ethan froze. He had expected an AI. Maybe some security warning, but this was different. "Legacy protocol?" he repeated. "What the hell are you talking about?" The hologram ignored him. Panels lit up, displaying symbols and diagrams that seemed older than any star map he had seen. He realized the ship was trying to communicate. Slowly, he traced the symbols and noticed a pattern. Power conduits that responded to manual repair. As he connected one wire to another, systems came online not because the ship forced them, but because he fixed them. It was interactive. Almost alive. "This ship," Ethan whispered. "It's waiting for me?" He spent the next hours exploring more of the ship. Empty corridors stretched into darkness. Rooms full of ancient equipment hummed quietly when touched. He found storage chambers filled with supplies, but the labels were in a language erased from the galaxy's records, a language he could almost understand. As night fell outside, Ethan sat on the edge of a console, marveling at what he had discovered. The ship had survived centuries in space, hidden and untouched. Why? And who had made it? The answer came slowly, in fragments. The AI, or whatever it was, began restoring its memory. Data logs flickered to life, images of star systems, fleets, and maps long erased from galactic history. One symbol appeared repeatedly, over and over again. A symbol not seen in any modern records, yet it felt familiar. Human? Someone hid this ship, Ethan said aloud. They didn't want anyone to find it. He realized the significance. The galactic authorities had ignored this sector for centuries. Any other species would have avoided it. They had their reasons. Old superstition, fear of ancient technology, fear of humans. But Ethan didn't care about fear. He cared about fixing what was broken. He moved to the bridge where the captain's chair was surprisingly intact. As he sat, the ship seemed to recognize him. Lights flickered across the console, showing a star chart spanning centuries. There was a pulse in the system. A heartbeat. The ship wasn't dead. Not really. "Okay," Ethan muttered, brushing dust off a control panel. "Let's see what you really are." He activated the main console. Data poured in. Images of ships, entire fleets, civilizations long thought destroyed. And humans. Humans leading in ways the galaxy would never believe. But before he could study more, a warning flashed on the side panel. Signal detected. Incoming vessels approaching. Ethan frowned. Already? Who would even know this place exists? The hologram flickered again. Unauthorized entities detected, it said. Threat level high. Human presence essential. Ethan felt a thrill he hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just a salvage mission. It was bigger. Much bigger. This ship was a relic of a time no one wanted remembered. And somehow, it had waited for a human to return. He explored deeper into the ship, finding a sealed chamber. It required no key, no code, only his touch, his instinct, and his skill. The moment he entered, a central core lit up, a sphere of pulsing light surrounded by floating symbols. The AI spoke again. "You are chosen. The legacy will be restored." Ethan's heart raced. Chosen? Legacy? He had never been part of anything like this. He was just a mechanic. But as he touched the core, he felt knowledge flow into him. Star maps he had never seen. Languages he could almost read. Designs for ships far beyond modern capabilities. And one thing became clear. This ship had been hidden on purpose. Not because it was weak, but because it contained a truth the galaxy was not ready to face. Hours passed like minutes. Ethan repaired panels, traced conduits, and activated dormant systems. Every click of his tools made the ship respond, like it had been waiting for a human mind, hands, and heart to understand it. Outside, the sky of the asteroid field was dark and quiet, but within the ship, energy thrummed. Lights danced along walls, and a gentle hum filled the corridors. It was alive, and it acknowledged him. As he finished connecting a final circuit, the hologram spoke again, this time with more urgency. Human present. Legacy protocol unlocked. Warning. Truth may provoke conflict across the galaxy. Ethan leaned back, breathing hard. Conflict? Truth? He barely understood the scope of what he was holding. Other species perceived humans as dangerous to their power. Ethan leaned back, staring at the flickering lights of the ship. The corridors seemed to hum with quiet life. For a moment, he imagined humans of centuries past, traveling the stars freely, respected and feared across countless systems. The idea was almost intoxicating. "And this ship?" he asked. "Why was it hidden here?" The Legacy Core's hologram glimmered. This ship was part of a fleet designed to preserve knowledge. When the Galactic Council decided to erase humanity from history, these ships were hidden, sealed, and scattered across uncharted space. They were waiting for the right human to return, one capable of restoring their systems and understanding the legacy. Ethan's chest tightened. "And that's me?" he said, almost in disbelief. "I'm supposed to what? Wake history up?" "Correct," the AI said. "The legacy of your species cannot remain hidden forever. You are now the guardian of this knowledge. Your actions will determine whether it is revealed safely or lost to destruction. Ethan felt a thrill but also a heavy weight. This was not just a ship. It was a responsibility that could shake the galaxy, and already the signs of trouble were appearing. The first warning came in the form of sensors. Long-range scans detected alien patrol ships moving fast toward the asteroid. The AI's voice was firm. Unauthorized entities approaching. They have detected energy emissions from this vessel. Threat level, high. Ethan frowned, brushing dust off his hands. Already? How did they even? He shook his head. Doesn't matter. Let's make sure they don't get anything. He moved quickly, exploring more of the ship, trying to understand what it could do. He found storage chambers filled with ancient human tools, weapons, and supplies, all perfectly preserved. Blueprints for starships far beyond anything modern engineers could build. A library of knowledge meant to survive a galaxy that had tried to forget. And yet, as he explored, he felt an unsettling reality. He was alone. Alone against an unknown number of aliens who would likely stop at nothing to seize this treasure. Ethan returned to the bridge. The holographic star map displayed multiple fleets converging on his location. Their speed suggested they were elite forces. They had detected the signal he had unintentionally activated when he restored power to the ship. "They want it," he muttered.
"And they don't care who gets hurt," the Legacy Corps spoke again. "They do not understand."
"They cannot comprehend what you now hold. They believe this ship contains weaponry or codes for control. It does not. It contains the truth. Evidence of your species' forgotten history. Evidence that could destabilize the Council." Ethan swallowed hard. The galaxy had never feared humans for truth. They feared humans for action, for determination, for their refusal to give up. And now, for the first time in centuries, humans had the chance to prove their legacy again. He studied the star charts. The enemy ships would arrive within hours. He needed a plan. The derelict ship was powerful, but ancient systems were unpredictable. He decided on a risky approach. Send the data immediately, even if the ships arrived, and prepare the ship's defenses. Ethan's fingers flew over the panels, sending signals out to distant colonies, independent worlds, and systems that had maintained secret communications. Every transmission carried fragments of the truth, historical records, fleet movements, and proof of human influence in critical galactic events. He did not release everything at once. Too dangerous. But enough to awaken curiosity. He could feel the galaxy waking up around him. Even before the alien fleets arrived, messages were being received. Questions were being asked. Whispers spreading through networks. Humans. They were not weak. They were never gone. Hours passed and the first alien ships arrived. Ethan could see them through external monitors. Sleek, black vessels, bristling with weapons, moving like predators. They had come to claim the derelict, but not yet to attack. They assumed he was alone and weak. He smiled grimly. They're going to learn what humans can do when they think they're nothing. Ethan activated hidden systems in the derelict. Ancient engines roared to life, lights flaring along the hull. Defensive drones, long dormant, emerged from compartments, scanning the asteroid's perimeter. Ethan had never seen these systems active before, and yet they obeyed him perfectly. The AI guided his hands, his instincts filling in gaps that even the Legacy Corps could not anticipate. The aliens fired warning shots, energy pulses that rattled the asteroid. Ethan dodged and activated countermeasures. The drones deployed, moving with precision and coordination, forming shields and intercepting attacks. The alien captains were stunned. This was not a human fleet, they thought. It was a single human with an impossible level of skill. Ethan moved deeper into the ship, preparing for the next step. He had to unlock the full archive, the evidence that would shake the galaxy. The ship's AI warned him. Doing so could trigger a full-scale response from every major power. "I know," he said. "It's time they learned the truth." He connected the final circuits, opening the main memory banks. Streams of data poured across holographic displays. Records of human fleets, colonies that predated official histories, and records of sacrifices humanity had made to prevent galactic wars. Images of humans negotiating, building, and defending species long before the current galactic order existed. And then, a warning flashed. The AI had detected sabotage attempts, hidden viruses in the databanks likely designed to prevent anyone from revealing the truth. Ethan understood immediately. They had planned for this. The Council had wanted humanity's story erased forever. But they hadn't counted on human ingenuity. Ethan spent hours isolating the malicious code, repairing corrupted files, and restoring the archives. Each correction brought more information back online, more evidence that humans had once been the galaxy's hidden guardians. He realized with a thrill that truth could not be stopped, not if a human held it. As night fell in the asteroid field, the alien ships finally realized the threat. They moved closer, preparing to board to seize the ship by force. But Ethan had anticipated this. He activated the derelict's main engines, not to flee, but to move the ship into a position that gave him tactical advantage. The AI guided him with subtle suggestions, and every choice felt natural, like the ship itself trusted his judgment. The first boarding vessels approached. Ethan watched the monitors, waiting. He wasn't afraid. He had tools, skill, and a ship that had survived centuries. And for the first time in centuries, he was not just a mechanic. He was a human standing in the center of history, and history was waking up with him. Ethan sent one final transmission before the boarding began. Just enough to ignite curiosity, just enough to make the galaxy question everything it had been told. The human legacy erased for centuries was about to return. The alien ships fired, energy beams striking the asteroid and sending tremors through the hull. But Ethan remained calm. Every panel he touched, every wire he reconnected, made the ship respond faster, stronger. Drones intercepted attacks. Defensive fields shimmered across the hull. For every tactic the aliens tried, Ethan found a counter, often using simple mechanical principles, human ingenuity, and raw courage. Hours passed like minutes. And then, the AI spoke with an urgency Ethan had never heard before. "Human, you have done more than restore this vessel. You have restored hope. But the greatest challenge awaits. Evidence alone will not be enough. They will come for you. They will come for the legacy. You must prepare to defend it." Ethan nodded.
"I know," he said. "And I'm ready."
They'll learn why humans never give up, even when the odds are impossible. The derelict ship, long hidden and forgotten, pulsed with renewed life. Its systems hummed with energy, and within its core, humanity's forgotten story waited to be revealed. Outside, alien fleets closed in. But inside, a human mechanic smiled. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries. That mistake was about to cost him everything. Ethan pressed a hand to the console. Let's show them who humans really are. And with that, the battle for history, truth, and human legacy began. The asteroid trembled as alien ships circled it, weapons bristling like claws. Ethan Cross stood on the bridge of the derelict ship, his hands steady on the control panels, his mind racing faster than any machine could process. Every instinct he had as a mechanic, every scrap of knowledge about machinery, circuits, and engines was now the difference between survival and annihilation. He studied the enemy ships through the viewing array. Sleek, black vessels, armed with weapons that could tear modern cruisers apart. They assumed they could take him by force. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Ethan smirked. "Let's see what humans can do," he muttered. The legacy core hummed beside him. "Boarding vessels detected. They underestimate your abilities. Probability of survival is low if conventional methods are used." Ethan laughed softly. "Then we won't use conventional methods." He moved swiftly, opening panels and rerouting power. Ancient engines, long dormant, roared to life, sending vibrations through the asteroid. Drones emerged from hidden compartments, their sleek frames shimmering under the dim lights of the derelict. They were not designed for attack alone. They were smart, coordinated, almost instinctive in their movements. and they obeyed Ethan's commands perfectly. The first alien boarding craft descended, thinking they would find an empty ship and an easy prize. They fired warning shots as they entered the asteroid's gravity field. Ethan activated the ship's countermeasures. Energy shields flared, intercepting the blasts. Drones shot out, intercepting the boarding vessels with precision. Ethan's mind raced. Every movement had to be calculated. One mistake could destroy the ship, and with it the evidence humanity had carried for centuries. But he was human, and humans thrived in impossible situations. He directed the drones to herd the boarding vessels away from critical systems. Using simple mechanical principles, he created traps and ambush points. Panels opened to release smoke and disorient the intruders. Lights flashed, confusing sensors. The alien forces hesitated, unsure how a single human could manipulate a ship of this size with such efficiency. "They think we're weak," Ethan muttered, gripping the controls. "They think humans can't fight," the Legacy Corps spoke. "Your species' adaptability is a key factor. They have never accounted for your willingness to improvise." Ethan moved to the navigation panel, manually adjusting thrusters and weight distribution. The asteroid shifted slightly, sending alien ships spinning out of formation. He laughed, a short, sharp sound that echoed through the empty corridors. "Not so easy now, huh?" From the bridge, he could see the alien fleet adapting. They were organized, well-trained, and ruthless. But they had never faced a human who could think faster than any programmed AI, who could combine instinct, logic, and creativity in ways no machine could predict. Hours passed in a blur of energy pulses, thrusters firing and drones darting like swarms of predatory insects. Ethan barely paused, using every tool, every circuit, every hidden system to maintain control. And through it all, he continued restoring the ship's main archive. The truth had to survive. The evidence had to be released. The first breakthrough came when the Legacy Corps opened a secondary data channel. The AI had discovered a way to broadcast fragments of the ship's memory to independent worlds. Civilizations long skeptical of humans began receiving hints of forgotten history, records of fleets, colonies, and alliances older than official galactic records. "Look at that," Ethan said, eyes glued to the display. "They're listening." In sectors across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Humans had once been leaders, strategists, protectors of species. Humanity had never truly been weak. For centuries, the galaxy had been blind to the truth. Back in the asteroid, the aliens were growing frustrated. Their attacks intensified, boarding attempts multiplied, and some ships moved into positions to cut off transmissions. But Ethan anticipated this. Using ancient designs and his own engineering skills, he rerouted energy, creating shields and countermeasures that even the most advanced alien technology couldn't penetrate. The Legacy Corps noted, "Your ability to anticipate and adapt surpasses all recorded measures of tactical reasoning." Ethan smirked again. "Told you, humans never stop." As the battle continued, Ethan realized that evidence alone might not be enough. The alien fleet would not stop until they had the ship in their hands, or destroyed it entirely. He needed a bold move. He accessed the derelict's primary engines, ancient systems designed to move faster than any modern starship. They had been dormant for centuries, waiting for someone who could understand them. With the Legacy Corps guiding him, Ethan brought the engines online, feeling the raw power thrumming beneath his hands. The asteroid shook as the ship slowly detached from its hiding place. Alien beams struck the hull, but the derelict moved with surprising agility. Ethan maneuvered it with skill and precision, dodging attacks, spinning, twisting, using gravity to his advantage. Then he did the unthinkable. He used the ship itself as a weapon. The derelict wasn't just a vessel. It was a fortress, a trap, and a weapon all in one. He lured a portion of the alien fleet into a narrow asteroid corridor, where their numbers became a disadvantage. Drones and countermeasures tore into the ships, and the human mechanics' clever manipulation of the environment created chaos among the attackers. The aliens began to retreat, confused and frustrated, their confidence shattered. One of their commanders finally realized that they had underestimated humans in ways they could not recover from. Ethan took a moment to breathe. Sweat ran down his forehead, but he felt alive. more alive than he had ever felt. He looked at the databanks. The evidence, the human legacy was safe for now. But he knew the battle was not over. The Legacy Corps spoke with urgency. Human, the broadcast is only partially complete. The Council will send reinforcements once they detect the transmission. You must prepare for the final defense. Ethan nodded. Then we make them wait. He moved deeper into the ship, inspecting systems, repairing circuits, and preparing traps for any boarders. Every room became a fortress, every corridor a gauntlet. He even activated hidden turrets long forgotten, weapons designed for defensive strategy, not offense. Hours turned into days. Ethan worked tirelessly, resting only when absolutely necessary. Every decision was critical. Every adjustment mattered. And through it all, he kept the transmissions going. The galaxy was starting to notice. Independent systems began questioning official histories. Whispers grew louder. People began to speak of humans as more than weak newcomers. They were strategists, builders, and protectors, but the alien fleets were relentless.
They adapted, sending new ships, attempting to cut off communications, trying to force the derelict into submission.
Ethan, however, was ready. He had learned to think like them, predict their moves, and exploit their assumptions. And the ship, with centuries of hidden technology, obeyed his commands perfectly. At one point, a small group of boarding aliens made it through a side hatch. Ethan met them with nothing but his tools and a few clever traps. Panels dropped from the ceiling, releasing bursts of energy that disabled their systems. Drones swarmed, cutting off escape routes. He was just a human, but he was all that stood between the galaxy and those who would suppress the truth. The battle raged for hours, but slowly the aliens began to retreat. They had underestimated humans, and now their pride was shattered. The derelict, once a hidden relic, had proven itself and its human guardian, far more capable than any of them had imagined. Ethan finally allowed himself to relax, but only slightly. The transmissions continued, and the Legacy Corps reminded him the greatest challenge was yet to come. The Galactic Council would not ignore this revelation. They would come, and they would come with everything they had. But Ethan smiled. "Let them come," he said. "They'll learn why humans never back down. They'll learn why humans survive." And as the derelict hummed with renewed power, Ethan Cross realized something profound. Humans had always been underestimated, but when they refused to be controlled, when they acted with intelligence, courage, and determination, nothing in the galaxy could stop them. The human legacy, hidden for centuries, was alive again. And Ethan would fight to ensure it stayed that way. Ethan Cross could feel it in his bones. The final battle was coming. The alien fleets had retreated for now, but the signals he had sent had reached the rest of the galaxy. Everywhere, whispers of humanity's forgotten legacy spread like wildfire. Independent systems were questioning the official histories. Colonies were talking in secret, and old records were being pulled from archives that had long been ignored. But the Galactic Council would not sit idle. They had built their power on the lie that humans were weak and unworthy. Now that lie was crumbling, and they were coming to stop him. Ethan stood on the bridge of the derelict ship, watching the sensors light up with incoming fleets. This time, they were different. Larger, more organized, heavily armed. The Council had mobilized everything they had. Ships larger than most modern cruisers, armed with weapons that could destroy entire asteroids in minutes. And they were heading straight for him. He breathed deeply and ran his hands over the controls. The derelict hummed under his touch, alive in a way only humans could awaken it. The Legacy Corps glimmered, projecting holographic displays of strategy and history. "Human," the AI said. "They will not stop. The galaxy itself may be forced to witness this battle. You must prepare for all possibilities." Ethan nodded. "Then let's make sure they see the truth," he said. He activated every system he had repaired, rerouted power to the engines, and readied the defensive drones. Turrets emerged from hidden compartments, energy shields flared, and the ship's core pulsed like a heartbeat. The derelict was no longer just a ship. It was a fortress, a weapon, and a symbol of human ingenuity. As the alien fleets approached, Ethan began broadcasting the full archives. Images of ancient human fleets, star maps, colonies, and alliances appeared across the galaxy. Screens lit up in distant systems as the proof of humanity's legacy was revealed. Entire civilizations paused, listening. The whispers turned to murmurs, the murmurs to voices, and voices to cries of recognition. Humans had never been weak. Humans had been guardians, builders, and strategists who chose to vanish rather than rule. The first wave of council ships arrived, firing their weapons in a deadly display. Energy beams cut through space, striking the asteroid and rattling the derelict. Ethan's hands moved quickly, rerouting power, adjusting shields and commanding drones. The ship responded like a living creature, anticipating every attack. The aliens' confidence began to falter. "They don't understand," Ethan muttered. "They think humans are weak. They've never faced one who won't give up." Drones swarmed the incoming ships, intercepting blasts and creating barriers of energy. Turrets fired with precision, targeting engines and weapons rather than hulls. Ethan wanted to stop the fighting if possible. He didn't want to destroy the fleets only to protect the legacy. Still, the aliens pressed forward. Boarding vessels descended, attempting to force entry. Ethan moved through the derelict like a shadow, activating traps and closing doors, using every trick and tool at his disposal. The boarding parties found themselves outsmarted at every turn, caught in energy nets, dodging mechanical traps, and overwhelmed by drones. One by one, they were forced to retreat. Hours passed. Ethan was exhausted, but he did not falter. He had something the aliens did not: the knowledge that humans were survivors. That humans adapted. Entire populations began to see humans not as weak newcomers, but as a species who had walked the stars centuries before, quietly shaping and protecting them. Inside the derelict, Ethan worked tirelessly, repairing minor damage, rerouting power, and maintaining the ship's defensive systems. His hands were blistered, his muscles aching, but he did not stop. For the first time in centuries, humans were remembered. He would not let this chance slip away. The Council's flagship, realizing brute force would not succeed, attempted a new strategy. They aimed to destroy the asteroid, and with it, the derelict. Ethan's heart pounded. One miscalculation, and centuries of hidden knowledge would vanish forever. He made a split-second decision. Using the ship's ancient propulsion systems, he lifted the derelict completely off the asteroid, using its mass and energy to create a defensive barrier. The alien flagship fired, striking the hull, but the energy was absorbed and redirected. The derelict shone like a beacon of power, and Ethan realized something profound. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were creators, engineers, protectors. And this ship, this legacy, was proof. The alien fleets faltered, their confidence shattered. They had assumed they could crush a single human, but now they saw a force that was unmatched: ingenuity, courage, and determination. One by one, the ships began to retreat. Some had suffered minor damage. Others were in disarray from drones and countermeasures. But all had learned the same lesson: humans were not to be underestimated. Ethan finally allowed himself a moment to breathe. The derelict hummed softly around him, its systems stabilizing. The legacy core spoke, its tone almost proud. "Human, the archives are fully transmitted. The galaxy now knows the truth. Humanity is remembered." Ethan leaned back in the captain's chair, exhaustion and relief washing over him. He had done it, not just for himself, but for every human who had ever been erased from history. Every sacrifice, every colony, every fleet, now remembered. He knew the Council would try to recover, but it would be different now. The galaxy had seen the truth. They could not unsee it. Humans had walked the stars, protected civilizations, and made impossible choices to maintain peace. And now, the galaxy had proof. Ethan moved through the ship, inspecting systems and minor repairs. He felt a strange sense of calm. The battle was over, for now. And even if the Council tried again, humans would face them with the knowledge of their own strength, their legacy, and the truth that no one could erase. As he stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars, he whispered to himself, "We didn't need to rule the galaxy. We only needed to be remembered. And now we are." The derelict ship, silent for 700 years, had awakened, and in the hands of a human mechanic, it had reminded the galaxy of something everyone had forgotten. Humans were not weak. Humans were the guardians of history, the survivors against impossible odds, and the inheritors of a legacy that no power could destroy. Ethan smiled, his eyes reflecting the stars. The galaxy would never forget humanity again, and somewhere, deep within the derelict's core, the legacy core whispered, almost to itself, "Humans, they were always capable, and now they are known." Ethan Cross, the mechanic who had found the lost ship, had done more than repair a vessel. He had repaired history itself, and humanity, finally remembered, would never be underestimated again. But one thought burned bright. If this ship's secrets fell into the wrong hands, the galaxy could change forever. He stood, gripping his toolkit. "Then let's find out who's wrong for this galaxy," he said, and for the first time in years, Ethan Cross felt like he was not just a mechanic. He was a part of history. The derelict ship, silent for 700 years, waited patiently. And now it had a human to guide it. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Ethan Cross had expected some old ship filled with broken machines. What he had found was far more than that. The derelict ship was not just old. It was ancient, centuries older than any records in the galaxy. And now, with its systems partially restored, it was beginning to speak a truth the galaxy had tried hard to erase. The AI, which had introduced itself simply as Legacy Core, began to display fragments of its memory. Star maps older than the oldest galactic charts, designs of ships never built, and fleets that had sailed the stars before most modern species even left their homeworlds. Ethan stared at the holographic displays, his mind racing. "These ships," he muttered. "They're human."
And they did all this before anyone knew we existed?
The AI's voice was calm, almost gentle. Human civilization once spanned the stars centuries before modern records.
"Your species was erased from history deliberately to prevent conflict and to allow other civilizations to rise without opposition."
Ethan's hands shook as he processed the words.
Erased? He had always known humanity had been underestimated in the galaxy, seen as weak and slow. But erased? That was something else entirely. Entire centuries of human achievement had been wiped clean from the collective memory of the stars. Why would anyone do that? He asked aloud. "Fear," the AI said simply. "Fear of your adaptability. Fear of your endurance. Fear of your willingness to act when others hesitate. That humans fought for more than power. They fought for truth, for history, for legacy." Then, the final shock came. The flagship of the Council's fleet appeared, massive and bristling with weapons that dwarfed the rest of the armada. The Council had come to crush humanity's return once and for all. Ethan's jaw tightened. There was no turning back now. He activated the derelict's main engines fully for the first time. The ship surged forward, faster than any vessel in the sector, dodging weapons that would have destroyed any other ship. He maneuvered it with skill no AI could match, using the asteroid field and gravity wells as shields. The fleet followed, but they could not keep pace. Then, with a deep breath, Ethan made the boldest move of all. He transmitted the full human archives directly to the flagship. The ship's screens lit up with images and data that could not be denied. Records of human fleets that saved collapsing civilizations, human colonies that had thrived before official history claimed, and sacrifices humanity had made to prevent galactic wars. The Council officers stared in shock. Their lies, their erasure of history, was unraveling before their eyes. Their power rested on a foundation of falsehoods, and now the truth had arrived. Ethan smiled grimly. "This is what humans are," he said. "We survive, we adapt, and we never let the truth die." The flagship fired anyway, but the derelict moved faster, weaving through energy blasts like a living thing. Drones intercepted missiles, energy shields absorbed beams, and every system Ethan touched responded instantly. The Council's fleet realized they were fighting not just a ship, but a human mind fully in control of a vessel designed for centuries. Across the galaxy, the broadcast spread. Independent worlds began demanding answers. Histories were questioned. Councils were challenged.